Good afternoon, Syntropic growers. This is Farmer Jones at Fig Tree Organic Farm, north of Gympie, in sunny Queensland. We have a beautiful winter's day, and we're just going to have a quick update on the system that we planted several weeks ago. So we've got our, as mentioned, biomass row, tree row, biomass row, mixed crop row, biomass row and tree row. And as we explained last week, we decided to increase the width of the distance between the trees to extend the time to plant mixed crops in the middle before it gets too shady in 4 or 5 years time. So here we've planted a mix of vetch, rye and oats and lucerne. And even though when we cut this cover crop eventually and side cast it to the tree row, perhaps only the lucerne will come back. We get 7 years out of lucerne. Now in addition, we planted what you might call elephant grass, napier grass or barna grass, you name it. It's got a few names and there's a few different types. Along the sides of the roads in Queensland and around here, this is endemic. Now if you zoom in closer, we notice that we've got these nodes on the grass stem, and you could experiment by collecting the seeds and throwing it in like that. Those seeds are dropping now, as you can see. You could cut the seed heads from those that you see on the side of the road and just lay it down, put some mulch over the top, or you can do what we decided to do and take established stems and plant them very similar to sugarcane. So here we have our nodes, and if you lay them flat under the hay mulch, those nodes should drop little roots if left long enough. So all we did was go along and find a good spot, and we just slid it under the hay like that, and it's as easy as that. So eventually we intend to have elephant grass way above our head, and if the ride-on mower can handle it, we may mulch it to one side on the trees, or we could reverse our direction and side cast it if we're replanting our central crop row. So one issue with this grass, this barna grass, is some people complain it does become invasive. Scott Hall has a video on this particular grass. You can harvest the hay or mulch the hay when it's merely this high and not too stemmy and it's all leaf, and you get many hits with it. It just keeps coming back. Or you can cut it down and replant it as I've just shown. But if you let it lay down, if you cut it at the stem and just let it lay down, it's going to send droppers into parts of your system that you may not like. And that's where some of the complaints comes from with this barna grass. However, I'm expecting it, similar to the sides of the road, to be way up here. And to avoid that invasive issue, we could use a flail mower and mulch the grass stems. We could rake it to one side, pick it up by your hands, whatever you like. Or we can run over it with a good Greenfields mower or any other sort of side cast mower that you might have, and throw it just directly onto your trees and feed them. But I'm hoping we'll get many. We planted every metre here for over the 50 metre lengths, and we hope that we'll get many years of regrowth out of that barna grass. Now I know the purists amongst you will say we should have buried the logs. Well, that's a damn lot of work, and I've done the second best that way and just placed the logs there. And over the years, as we sidecast this mulch and hay and add wood chips and so on, this will eventually cover these logs. And already some of these logs that we've cut down or picked up off the forest floor has mushroom and fungal growth. I shaped them this way. This is the cheater's way. I shaped the log that way so that it stays put, and any wood chips that we will eventually throw on will catch in there nicely and act as a bit of a border. But as you can imagine, slicing a couple of dead trees down into lengths like this is a lot of work. There's no denying it. Some friends use a little Kubota backhoe, a little backyard backhoe, to dig these out when they form their beds. That's probably the best way. And they just throw the round logs down in that, both sides of the tree row. If you're in the tree row, you'll notice we don't have so much the oats and oats and rye. We've got more nitrogen fixing cover crop. Slightly different here. We're looking for bulky biomass on these dedicated biomass rows. But on the tree row, we're looking to encourage nitrogen around the bases of our trees. So we've thrown woolly pod vetch, we've inoculated it. In summer you can use lab, or you can use, I prefer cowpea. There's a few types of cowpea, and they fix nitrogen nicely around the base of all these trees we've planted. And eventually we'll come down, we'll put these sticks here, because the cover crop will be up here eventually, and they'll hide our little trees. We don't want to accidentally cut them down with our little rice knife or sickle. So we just put on a little bamboo stick next to them just to show where they are. And eventually we'll just come and hand cut this cover crop down and lay it down when it reaches its flower point. Now I have put lucerne in here too, and I hope that the lucerne will continue to regrow over quite a few years, and we'll get many cuts out of it, as experienced in our other system over there. Let's have a look at our crop row. So this row here, we just flattened it out a bit using a rotary tiller. We started with bare soil. We've used a 6-point seeder to lay down a carpet of radish and Asian, and we also used an earthway seeder to put in a line of Japanese turnip. There's a line of kale in there in the centre, and I think there's a line of coriander seed as well. So these guys, there's 5 or 6 different veggie seedlings in there now. As you can see, they've just poked up through the hay, and we've kept the hay, as you can see, quite minimal, just 1 inch or 2, so that the seedlings don't have too much trouble pushing up through the hay. But you've got to cover the little baby seedlings so they don't cook in the sun. No way around that. So they come up pretty good. At this stage we've still got our T-tape in there, and that'll hopefully stay in there forever. But we also use the sumi soaker to get the cover crop up, and that creates a 8-metre wide spray. They're very good. So you can do the overhead thing, you can do the T-tape thing in conjunction. I think we only put half a bag of Chukfert K-Tech along this 50-metre row. We don't want to rely too much on fertiliser anymore. And you may ask, how will we push seed or direct seed in the future? Well, 2 options. You can pull the hay apart and push your earthway seeder through it again, if you wish, and replant it directly. Or, as we're experimenting with over there, we're putting very thick mulch on, and we're planting seedlings directly into the mulch, And this way, we should never have to remove that T-tape again. We intend to have it there permanently. And this is all saving hours and hours of work. So if you're just leaving the soil undisturbed, never till and kill, put copious amounts of hay. You can put chook dust on it if you want, rock dust, whatever you like. But each planting, you can add a nice big thick covering of hay. Eventually that hay will break down and create plant food itself for a bit of work. And in terms of the mix of veggies, it doesn't really matter. One will harvest earlier than the other. And as you pick out the radishes and the Asian, then that'll make way for the turnips, and then eventually it'll make way for the kale. And the kale will sit here for 8 months, perhaps this high. So each dog has its day, each seedling will have its turn in succession. And this is an efficiency because I've planted 5 or 6 different types of seed on this bed. Maybe not all of it will come up, but a lot will. And once this is spent, you can ride carefully over the top with a flail mower, mulch it all up again, leave the roots in the bed, never pull the roots out, because they're covered in soil microbes and mycorrhizae and so forth. So we'll never till this row again, as far as I'm concerned. We always try to avoid the till and kill. So by adding, you're building up a layer of little humus in there, and that'll be more than adequate to feed any future vegetable seedlings that you plant. So this is how we've designed this system. We'll give you progress updates, see how it's going. Any questions and answers, just leave them in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe, of course. And any suggestions for improvement on this system are very welcome, because I'm just a student myself and we're just exploring this as an experiment, and we're definitely open to suggestions. So we'll sign out for Big Tree Organic Farm again. This was video number 25, and we'll see you on the next one on video number 26. Over and out.